Oscars aside, we've already talked about the movies that have been nominated. Let's talk about a movie that's definitely not going to get nominated. Birds of Prey.
Yes.
I want to start off with that because obviously with it being recorded on Sunday going into Monday, we actually do also know the box office results for the Margot Robbie R-rated spinoff from the Suicide Squad, the Academy Award-winning Suicide Squad, I might mention.
What did it win for?
I think it won for best makeup or best visual effects, I guess, in regards to how they did with Killer Croc and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think that was it.
Really?
Yeah. I could.
That had to be a bad year in movies.
Not a bad year, but obviously there wasn't too much going on in regards to like how characters were looking. And I have to admit, what they did with Killer Croc was pretty impressive.
I guess that's more for actual special effects and not like computer graphic visual effects.
Right, because I mean, Suicide Squad really didn't have that, with the exception of the Skybeam.
Right, because other movies that came out that year, such as like the Infinity Wars, or was that the same year?
No.
When did Suicide Squad come out? I'm losing track of
2016.
time. Wow, that long ago.
Yes.
Whew, time flies.
Well, they needed that much to get all the Justice League and Batman, Superman stuff ready. So, yeah, 2016 was kind of like a breather year. They had to go off for a couple. But all that aside, the box office results came in, and Birds of Prey will be hitting number one at the box office, but with only $34 million. Now, for those of you who may wonder why that's a big deal, the budget for Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn, that is the full title.
I'm not saying the full title.
But that is the full title.
I know it is. I'm just not saying it.
Oh, but if it was like, The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, you would say that whole thing, right?
Because that's easier to say.
It's vocabulary.
Yeah.
Anyway, the budget for the movie was $85 million. Which means in order to recoup its cost and say, for those of you who don't understand, whenever you're talking about the budget in the movie and how much money it has to make back, usually a movie has to make back double its budget because of promotional costs and stuff. So we're looking at about $170 million that the movie would have to make to cover everything. And it's only premiered at 34. At this point, it is going to be the lowest opening for any DCEU movie, even under Shazam, which Shazam did like $53 million in its opening weekend.
You know what? I'm going to say this. I have not been looking forward to seeing this movie, but to me, I'm a guy. I figured this is more meant for a female audience into superheroes.
To an extent.
And I am encouraging more female-driven movies such as this one.
Mm-hmm.
So even though it wasn't really focused towards my demographic, I really was hoping for some semi-success. I hope this doesn't lead to a backlash on any future movies such as like this one. Though, with that said, now, do you want to give your opinions? Because I know you did a non-spoiler review on Real or Deal.
Right.
So, by the way, I'm just going to give it the point now. We will be talking spoilers on this podcast. So if you have not seen the movie yet and you don't want to get spoiled, you might want to go see it before you continue listening to us.
Although, to be fair, in comparison to a lot of other comic book movies, there really isn't too much spoilers. It's just really about how the movie winds up. And anybody that's seen a movie like this probably would be able to guess as to how it's going to turn out. I don't know if it's really going to have any kind of big ramifications on the overarching DCU or DCEU, whatever they want to call it, going forward.
Yeah, I don't feel I'm going to... me personally, I don't feel I'm going to give any spoilers that would ruin the film for anyone. I'm just...
Oh, I definitely will. I definitely can do that. I have no problem doing that.
All right. But we are pointing that out to you right now, and...
All right, so... You have your opinion on the movie.
Yes.
What would that be?
All right. So, I kind of went into this with no hopes.
Jeez.
Again, it's not my...
Very dour.
It's not my demographic, so I was just not really paying attention. But anytime I looked at it, it looked like this really stylish film. And the last few DC films have been very stylish films with no actual substance. I'm like, yeah.
Ooh.
I'm gonna remove two of them. Shazam was good and Wonder Woman was good, so those ones are removed. I can't say anything about Aquaman. I have not seen that one yet. But
You didn't see Aquaman?
I did not see Aquaman.
Wow.
Because again, well, also King Bro or some.
Oh, not a fan of Jason Momoa?
I'm not, and I don't hate him, but I'm not a fan. Well, I don't want to say I'm not a fan. You know what? Eventually, I'm going to get around to it, but I haven't. It's one of those things. Like, there's not a hatred there. It's just not enough of an interest to make me sit down and watch it.
Well, obviously, you're not watching for the muscles or anything, and
No.
after what we've heard about Amber Heard,
You ain't watching for her at all.
yeah, it's like, oh wow, this Amber Heard mood really wants me to, go watch Aquaman now. Not so much.
But so here's my opinion. Going in again, no hope for this movie. Going in, and then it began, and I actually got drawn in. Like so, it's a weird feeling to go into a movie with no hope for it, and then to raise the level for you in the first 5 minutes. Because I thought the first act of that movie was really good and very well set up, with maybe a tweak or two here and there. And then they totally lost me by the second act, and I was like, "Oh no, I shouldn't have given you any hope because you just took it all away."
Well, okay. With that said, what was the point? The exact point where you're like, okay, you lost me.
When there's a scene where basically Harley Quinn breaks into a police station,
Okay.
to capture one of the characters in the movie,
Right.
and that scene annoyed me.
That scene annoyed you?
Yeah, and I just
That
felt
was such a good action scene. It's like,
well, again, story matters to me as much as action, and I've done action scenes for like short independents as well. I know I'm like talking really slowly because I'm trying to build my thoughts as I'm talking here. But basically, one, you have Harley Quinn, who is a known killer, works with the Joker, and she goes in, and what's she using as her weapon? A beanbag gun with a few glitter explosions in there. So that's problem number one. It's like she is a hardened criminal. She should probably just be using regular weapons, not like, oh, I don't want to hurt anyone. You hurt people all the time. Just use real guns. Two, she is in a police department with trained officers on how to deal with a situation like that. And all of them are pretty much running away or doing the infamous 1980s action film, Let's Attack Her One at a Time. Which, it's an old trope. We're all used to it. But, I feel action has improved in films over the years. And since the 90s with Jackie Chan, I feel like they figured out how to not slow down the action, where there's some guy in the background, which you can't see me right now, but basically, the people who are there, they're dancing in the background like, oh, I'm going to get her as soon as she beats up this other guy. And they just one at a time. And it was so noticeable in this film. Every fight was like that. With the police in particular, though, because I kind of moved away very fast, my train of thought is awful. You have police officers who are either attacking her one at a time or running away from a woman with a fucking beanbag gun. You have real guns. She has a beanbag gun. Oh, God, she's going to shoot me with that beanbag gun. And that alone annoyed me. Now, that's not what ruined the film for me. That was the beginning and the end, I feel, for my enjoyment of the film.
see, I have a different perspective on that entire scene. That's the thing. Because, one thing, Suicide Squad never really showed us how much of a fighter or how capable Harley Quinn is on her own. This was a definite showcase of that. It's one of the things I really admired about how they portrayed Harley Quinn in this movie was that they kind of looked a little bit closer as to how she was as a foil in the animated series, and she had a good amount of existential flexibility, very acrobatic, almost like Robin was to Batman. She was to Joker. And I feel like with these action scenes, you really got a sense of how she was a capable adversary to anybody, especially with the flipping and the jumping and the cartwheels and everything. And half of that, it looked like it was even Margot Robbie who was doing it, not so much as stunt doubles.
I have a different take on that.
Well, look, all that aside, it made it look like she was a much more capable person than who we had originally seen in Suicide Squad. So that was a plus for me. Second, it's not out of the realm of possibility to think, okay, well, she's in the police department. Obviously, she doesn't want to be cracking away too many bodies. Otherwise, even more people will be chasing her as they were chasing her earlier in the movie. She has no problem killing the guys when they're in the holding for all the evidence and everything like that. But certainly a problem with killing cops when you got a lot more cops all around there. So keep it safe so this way she doesn't get shot.
Why are the police running away?
Because it's Harley frickin' Quinn. She has a reputation being someone with the Joker. You think the cops have heard about the breakup? Probably not. So they think if she's around, he's around.
I just don't feel that's. There's a little bit of logic what you're saying, but I still, if you're a police officer, like that. That's another thing about this movie. So have you ever watched the new TV show Harley Quinn?
No, I haven't. I've seen clips because Lord knows they show enough of them during on Instagram. You'll just be scrolling through and you'll get like a 10, 15-second clip of an episode.
So in that, they had their kind of their own universe where it's a bit of a satire on the DC universe,
right?
Where all the superheroes are almost sort of like just Nimrods who do things because they're the good guys.
Yeah, but my boy,
and then the bad guys can kind of
so.
walk around like they own the place. No one stops them. The Legion of Doom just has their own offices and they can do their own press conferences and stuff. No one arrests anyone.
There's
really,
cursing
unless Batman gets involved. So, with all that, it's like, okay, it's a cartoon. It's meant to be satire. It's meant to be a comedy. I can get into that universe because that's the rules of that universe. And then I get into this, which, by the way, I think you have researched this a little bit more, so you could correct me. But to my knowledge, this is the same universe as Man of Steel, as Justice League, as Wonder Woman. So, which have some set ground rules on everything. And here we're in Gotham where Harley Quinn, a hardened criminal, can just walk the streets without getting arrested, ordering her egg sandwiches.
Well, obviously it's
and all these other criminals too. They're just wandering around and no one's stopping them. There's a scene where she blows up a chemical plant. And you're like, well, it's Gotham. Why is Batman not coming here?
Well, that's obviously been touched on by quite a few people as to why there was no Batman, no Robin, no vigilante justice in any way, shape, or form.
Well, we could say like, oh, well, this person wasn't available to be in the film.
Yeah, they were probably
off
with the
Batman, whatever.
Yeah,
but you have like this really big blowing up a chemical plant would probably be one of those things that attracts Batman. And
provided he's around.
Yeah, but there's so many things in this world that were just so off. And again, I was kind of ignoring it for that first half because the Harley Quinn kind of trying to do the Deadpool thing, like she was the narrator of this film.
Right.
So just for those who didn't see it yet, that was one of the things. She narrates it such as the same as Deadpool did in the first Deadpool movie and second Deadpool movie.
In any Deadpool movie, really.
Any Deadpool movie.
Except X-Men Origins Wolverine.
But it's like as it went on, there was less narration from her. It's like they didn't know where they were going with the writing. Things just started feeling like it went off track, like they didn't know where to go. So beyond even the action scenes, it's just like were you just kind of piecing this together as you went along?
See, I don't think if it's like that because I think a lot more of the narration was trying to like get back up to a certain point and then it continued on from there. So it really wasn't like, the whole thing was being told in post until like the very, very end. But here's the one thing I will say in regards to the whole Deadpool comparison. And here's, I think, probably part of the reason why the movie is hurting at the box office for opening weekend, actually. It's that you're taking a property that was in a PG-13 movie because Suicide Squad was PG-13 when it came out. That was one of the gripes about it, actually, that they didn't go for the hard R with all these murders. So you have that, and then you go ahead and you take Harley Quinn and a bunch of other characters and you put them into a hard R-rated movie, supposedly. And I feel like they didn't go hard enough with the R.
No, it was. I saw someone else say like this felt like a PG-13 movie, and I tend to agree with them.
With the exception of the language being probably the biggest outlier of anything.
and the final death scene in the movie. But
Even then, you could have like done a quick edit off screen, just have like some stuff fly up at them. You didn't have to. So, the main character
again, it goes back
kills the main villain.
It goes back into the audience. They thought like the main audience for this is possibly teenage girls. And yeah, a lot of them can't go see this movie because it's rated R.
Right. Well, I mean, provided theaters are stringent about that sort of thing. I mean, Lord knows I know enough theaters that it's like it doesn't matter. But
the rumor is like if they really want to see this movie, they're just going to buy a ticket for a PG-13 movie and then sneak into the theater for this one.
Right, but then
the money doesn't go to Birds of Prey anyway.
Right, and mind you, critically, the movie is being highly favored. You know, it's rotten fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. It's I think B plus to an A- cinema score. So, you know, it still looked very favorably, but it's one of those things where you're kind of already losing some of the target audience just by playing around with the characterization of the character. You could have made Harley much more villainous, much more bloody, yes, fine, much more of a killer if you wanted to. But they chose to go the more, she's smarter than she looks, she's more whimsical than she looks, she's not as crazy as she looks, sort of parallel instead. And that's hard to do considering you have an animated television show which came out prior to the movie, which shows what a hard R Harley can be.
Yeah, and that show is really, really good. That is the only thing I look forward to on Fridays right now. But yeah, this movie, it's one of those things. I don't want to say I hate this movie. I don't.
No,
I don't.
I like the movie myself, but
it could have been better, and I think that first act really showed how good it could have been. I think it needed a lot more polishing.
It needed more oomph, which I don't think is an oomph that DC is ready to go down yet. They're still trying to go more family friendly and try to build out like that. They had the opportunity to go the route that Fox went with R-rated comic book fare. And they decided to hold it back a bit because I don't think Warner Brothers is necessarily in that market just yet. Between their two big franchises, which being DC and Harry Potter, you know, they're still trying to balance the scales on something that's palatable for everybody. And it's that old adage, you know, when you try to please everyone, you please no one.
Right. Yeah, it's like I think that's the biggest thing. They never knew where to go with DC. Christopher Nolan he stayed on as a producer, but he kind of backed out creative-wise, I think.
Right.
And they brought in, and I hate to say this, I love Zack Snyder. He's one of my favorite directors, but he did not do good with this DC series.
Well, I mean, you can't blame the whole series of events on him. That's the problem. You to blame it all on Zack.
I can blame the majority because he created the blueprint.
He created the blueprint, but they didn't allow him to construct from the blueprint as much as he should have. You know, that again, it's one of these things where it's like the creator and the company butting heads, which is all the more reason that we got the Justice League that we did.
So he's not the one who decided we needed a strong, brooding Superman?
I mean, we definitely could have used a strong, brooding Superman, but...
Why?
Because we've seen what the lighthearted Superman can be already, and even then that was kind of like
but this wasn't just a regular Superman. This was going to be a Superman mixing up with Batman. So you already have the strong, brooding character, and now
you have a Batman that kills. Yes.
Well, no, that's not my point. I'm saying when I say a strong, brooding character, I'm referring to Batman. You should have just kept Batman, and not add him killing people in there. And you should have kept Superman lighthearted, and then like the whole thing between them is that chemistry. You have Superman who is the capability of doing anything but holds back, and Batman who's a regular human being but goes beyond his limits to get things done.
Right.
And I think that is a good enough dynamic. Instead, you go for the Superman like, why am I here? Oh, all my dads have died. One of them walked into a tornado. It's just...
If that was you wouldn't be upset?
Well, I'd be upset at my father walking into a tornado.
Yeah, that's upsetting. Well, technically, he didn't walk into it. He kind of, it's more like stood there and it took him.
He's like, no.
Yes. It's like, I'm going to just stick here.
I really didn't like you can say like, Warner Brothers made some of these bad decisions, but Zack Snyder, I think was the one who started the blueprint, and the downfall I think really was how he saw these characters versus how the audience who wanted these movies saw these characters and how they were supposed to be played. Yeah, I mean, you can make the same similarities to Star Wars, which is why so many people hated
no. We're not doing
Last
Star Wars.
Jedi.
No, we're not touching on Star Wars. We're not doing Star. No. The fandom
So-
has finally calmed down. Let it be at peace. Put the dragon back in its cave.
All right, so we'll go back to Birds of Prey real quick.
Yeah. What about the rest of the cast? What about the rest of the movie? Because Ewan McGregor, I loved Ewan McGregor.
I liked him as Black Mask, and actually, I've never seen that version of Black Mask because
No.
anytime I've ever seen Black Mask, it's just this cold, heartless individual pissed off at Bruce Wayne. And here you have, he's kind of like
Foppish.
yes, a little bit. He's foppish. Actually, I will have to ask you for the definition of that word before I agree with you.
Like a bit of a dandy.
Okay, yeah, all right.
Yeah. No, and it kind of makes sense to have a villain like that because you almost have to have somebody
He killed someone for a snot bubble.
Yes. Well, I mean, not killed them, just took off their face. What happens afterwards is their own thing. But if you're going to have a protagonist in this sense, like Harley Quinn, you kind of need someone of equal value to bounce off of. Otherwise, it's going to be like, banging against a brick wall. And I feel like, they chose to go with Black Mask. They chose to go with that particular villain as to the whole cavalcade of Gotham anti-heroes. And it works. It works to a degree that they almost have like a bit of a fun appeal to them. So it's almost like you want to see them butting heads because you want to see how one reacts to the other. Whereas if they went with the cold, calculated Black Mask, you already know how he's going to react to stuff like Harley Quinn, and it's going to be dull.
No, and I'm not complaining about that. I thought that was a good change in character.
Yeah.
And
probably the most ecstatic looking I've seen Ewan McGregor since like Train Spotting.
Yeah, and I haven't actually seen much of him other than the Star Wars film. So
and
seeing him in this
Disney
was
Plus
great.
cutting off everything, you're not going to see him for a while.
Yeah. It's again, we're leaving Star Wars alone.
Yes, no. But
so, with that said, okay,
well, what about the birds themselves?
All right, so, and I'm bad with names. That's the major problem here. So you have Renee Montoya, right?
Rosie Perez, who.
You're just gonna go for the actress's name.
Well, yeah, no. I mean, Detective Montoya, but I mean, I'm just saying it's Rosie Perez, and I haven't seen Rosie Perez anything significant since like Pineapple Express. Who, again, she played a cop. So this just seems to be her bag right now.
All right. So I travel in and out of New York City every day during the week, and there is a section by Times Square where they just plaster like the new great movie out there, and like it's a beautiful design they always put up.
Mm-hmm.
So. For like the last month, it's been Birds of Prey with Harley on there and Cassandra Cage and Renee Montoya on there, Rosie Perez. I didn't realize that was Rosie Perez.
Yeah, no. I mean, you don't think of it like looking at her, but I mean, I guess that's just how aging has worked. Like you compare Rosie Perez to like her early 90s days from like White Man Can't Jump to like now. And yeah, it's almost like she's kind of dulled in the light in a sense, but I really liked her characterization of Montoya in the movie. It's a little more hard as nails sort of character, and I really like that they give her more of a prominent spot than say other versions of Montoya have. Like say in the animated series, Batman the Animated Series, she was just a simple patrol woman at that point. She was just she was just Montoya. That's
there is more to her, and that's
there
the other
is.
thing.
Yes,
in the comics she ended up becoming the Question, which was a character that Rorschach was based off of.
Right, and there is the possibility that towards the end of the movie, you may eventually see her as the Question if there was any kind of continuation to the story. So that's nice. I like that they went ahead and they really, fleshed that out.
Mm-hmm.
The other characters wise,
Black Canary, which I don't know.
Journey Smollett Bell.
It seemed like
I finally got that pack.
It seemed like a kind of a change in the character for Black Canary, where, well, actually, I gotta say, like Huntress, Black Canary, and Cassandra Cage, all very different characterizations than in the comic books.
Yes, but
with Black Canary, again, like her father in the comic books was a police detective. In this one, she's a lounge singer turned into a criminal driver.
Well, again, also her mom was the one that helped with the police.
Yes, but like
Which kind
again,
of plays into one of the origins. But the thing is, Canary is one of those ones that's had multiple origins, depending on which
True.
version you go with. My thing with that is that you've had the Lances be such a prominent mainstay in the Arrowverse that this is quite the 180 from that. You know, the prominent white sisters that went on to become assassins with the, either modified vocals or not, and then.
now I know I'm going to get gas from you, but I'll be honest with you. I have not really watched much TV in the last 10 years.
10 years, my God.
So I have not really watched any of the Arrowverse stuff.
Okay.
So, are you talking about Black Canary in there? Are you talking about the Huntress?
Black Canary, more so. Because the way they did Canary was quite
Actually,
different.
to ask, which version, because now there's a Batwoman series,
Yes.
which character is playing Batwoman? Because there has been many Batwomen and Batgirls over the years.
Oh, well,
Or did I put you on the spot of like a show you don't watch?
well, yeah, because I haven't. The thing is, I don't watch it when it all premieres. I always watch it when it goes on Netflix.
Okay. Because that's the other thing. I'm not trying to move away from Black Canary, but Huntress and Cassandra Cage were actually Batgirl in the comic at one point or another.
Right.
So it's like, are one of them that same character? Is the Huntress Batwoman in Batwoman, or
No. It's Oh, what's the?
I'm all over the place. So I'll have notes for this
Hold on.
podcast one day.
I will bring up a name eventually because I can just go on IMDb because that's the easy part about this. I can just go on IMDb and tell you exactly which one it's supposed to be.
But again, I would say, like, because we've been talking about this maybe 30 minutes now, and I've been just fumbling along it. One day notes. But I would say, like, the movie was not bad. I would say it's just as good as Suicide Squad.
Kate Kane.
But I don't know. Like I said, I thought the first act was really good, and I think there was a dip in quality as the movie went along. But I'm not taking away from it. If you enjoyed Suicide Squad, I think you will enjoy this one.
Yeah. Even if you didn't enjoy Suicide Squad, I think you can enjoy this one because, again, yes, very female-centric kind of movie. I do like how they showcased all the main characters to the best extent they could. I do think they could have gone a little deeper with Huntress, with Mary Elizabeth Winstead's version, because she is kind of badass, but there's very little to her, with the exception of the backstory that they give about her and being a Burton Ellie.
Well, I think they were trying to make her a bait and switch, where she was supposed to be this real quiet, cool character, and then like halfway through the movie, you learn a little more about her. It's like, she's a little more of a dork than you think.
Yeah, she really is. She's almost like Drax to an extent in the way she works with the others.
Yeah, it's like she's a super assassin. She is not someone you want to screw with, but she is a bit of a dork outside of all her assassin skills.
Yeah, so socially she's inept.
Yes. They call me the Huntress.
They
call you something else.
They could have played that off so much more. They really could have, and it would have been funny as hell. Just seeing her being like, no, I am tough.
But again, I think it was good, but I think it could have been in the oven a little bit longer.
Yeah, it's not something you shouldn't see. It definitely is something you should see. I would even say go ahead and see it in theaters. It's worth the price of admission at least. Is it going to set the world on fire like the other DC movies have? Probably not.
And that is my one regret. And I'm going to say this to you people now. If you're going to see any movie, whether it's good or bad, always see it on a Friday night with a packed house, because even if the movie is awful, you're going to probably enjoy it just because of the audience. I have made the mistake of the last few movies I've gone to see with moments that I knew should have got a roar from the crowd. I've seen this in a dine-in theater with people just drinking beer and eating food, and like some big scene comes up like, oh yeah, and everyone's like, oh, and just like
Yeah, no, even I could tell you, don't go to the dine-in
Yeah.
theater for something
Go-
like that.
go to
for
a-
my own personal reasons, of course. But
Go to a real theater with a packed house, and I guarantee you, I'm lying. I'm not guaranteeing you anything, but you will most likely enjoy it.
yes, if you don't enjoy it, JT will give you your money back. That is his guarantee.
I will give you the same amount of money I'm giving you right now, $0. And for a limited time offer, I'll triple it.
You're so generous.